Now, from Arkansas's News and Information Center, this is THV 11 This Morning.
6 o'clock. Thank you for joining us once again. I want to remind you that if you're wanting to know if your school is in session today, we have that information on our website, THV11.com. There will be some places closed down, some delays because of not snow, but rain. We've had a lot of it. So we go from here to Chris Ross. Chris Ross is live this morning for us, and he is also looking at the rain and the potential traffic hazards. Cabot, or between, I think, Cabot to Jacksonville. Yeah, Cabot exit there. You can see traffic's moving along. And on the left-hand side, the Crane Kia Weather Garden, where we still have a few puddles. The rain looks like it has backed off quite a bit outside. Light to moderate rain overnight last night. Continued with some of those flood watches and warnings. Here is the page. Counties in red under flood warnings. The green, there are aerial flood warnings in effect and flash flood watches. A lot of west central and northwest Arkansas removed from the flash flood watch. But more rain is on the way today. Live View Max shows a batch. A nice area here over west central Arkansas, mainly light to moderate. Heaviest rain has moved over into western Mississippi and Tennessee. In Arkansas, we've got a break. Some good news here. Lone Oak, Prairie County, up to Woodruff counties, but back toward the metro area, Little Rock, westward, southwestward. It's a little heavier down around Hot Springs Village, and around Arkadelphia. So we have two fronts. One front is southeast of Arkansas, and another boundary that was over Missouri and Oklahoma yesterday did finally snake its way in. It's stalling out as we speak, and anytime a front stalls out, you get low pressure waves traveling along it. You get a training effect, and eastern Arkansas had that effect yesterday, which brought the heaviest and highest rain totals. Here's the upper level low. It's going to begin to drift to the north over the next few days and will finally weaken somewhat, and the rain should begin to come to an end. Got to have the umbrellas, got to have the slickers, got to have something to keep you from getting wet. 60 this morning to 65 this afternoon, and by late afternoon we should begin to see some of this taper off across central Arkansas. There you go. Rain. Back to you guys. Rain.
That's all you need to say is rain. You're good.
Rain.
Well, as that heavy rain continues to make its way through Arkansas, several cities and towns are now dealing with floodwaters.
And with the promise of more rain in Tom's forecast the next few days, towns preparing for the worst as crews work to keep the roads clear. Now, according to the Arkansas County Office of Emergency Management, parts of 80 to 90% of state highways are flooded in Arkansas County. The flooding even extending into downtown Stuttgart. The Office of Emergency Management preparing if the flooding approaches nearby homes.
I have been in contact with some facilities in the event that we do have to open a shelter if those residents are to become displaced.
Now, flooding also a major concern in Jefferson County as floodwaters take over the streets of Pine Bluff. Street crews will be there today working to keep the streets clear. The city does have problems with water getting backed up because Pine Bluff is so flat and water doesn't drain well.
We have 3 ditching machines out, mainly trying to clear the ends of culverts and pipes where pine straw and leaves, trash from people's yard have floated into it and stopped up the drainage system.
The street department says if water levels get any higher, they may have to shut off a few of those roads.
And with the heavy rain, the Army Corps of Engineers keeping an eye on river and lake levels. Earlier this week, engineers released water from dams on core lakes in the northern half of the state to receive the rain.
And the Corps also issued a small craft advisory for the Arkansas River, but they say they're not anticipating river flooding like we saw at the beginning of the year. Maumelle police asking the public to help find a man who hasn't been seen now since Monday. 38-year-old Bo Bishop left a note for his wife, but investigators are still worried about his safety. Police won't say what that note said, but Bishop could be in a black 2014 black Hyundai Elantra. His phone was last pinged in Conway Monday afternoon. Conway man now facing capital murder charges in the death of a woman found in a hotel room. Prosecutors upgraded charges against 53-year-old Scotty Gardner yesterday. Now, he originally faced a second-degree murder charge in the death of 39-year-old Susan Stubbs. A hotel clerk called police after Gardner booked the room at the Days Inn Sunday, but didn't return to pay for it. Police found Stubbs dead inside. They tell us the two were in a relationship at the time. Gardner is being held without bond.
A Little Rock family taking matters into their own hands 6 months after their son's murder. They took their concerns to Pine Bluff officials for what they are calling a botched investigation. Last September, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff student Keith Wilbert Jr. was shot and killed in his own home. Pine Bluff detectives say they've been investigating for the past 6 months now, but still no suspect has been arrested, even with a $10,000 reward. Now Wilbert's family asking for new eyes to examine the case in hopes of finding the suspect and some answers.
If this has happened to our son's case, just imagine if it's happened to anybody else's case, and maybe we're the only individuals who have spoken up about this.
In January, a teen was arrested in connection with Wilbert's murder, but a judge found no probable cause for him to be charged. If you have any information, call Pine Bluff Police.
Well, the Broadway Bridge now expected to be closed a little bit later than what was originally thought. It was set to be closed in June for several months of construction, but because of all of this rain we've had, it's been moved to a later date. That date, though, hasn't been announced yet. North Little Rock Mayor Joe Smith says high water from flooding put crews behind schedule. He said the change won't increase the project's cost. The presidential candidates face off before more voters head to the polls.
Coming up, why Hillary Clinton's biggest opponent wasn't on the stage.
Plus, if you haven't made plans for dinner or lunch just yet, how about whipping up some grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup? It's rainy. This sounds so good.
Growling.
Deanna Fleming, Catering Creation, shares her favorite recipes for us coming up.
Man, I was kind of in the mood for beignets today.
Get out.
She did that
Grilled
already,
cheese
right?
and tomato soup is perfect
How
for
about
rainy day.
a grilled cheese beignet?
No.
We'll combine efforts.
Gross.
All right. Live View Max will show where the rain is located in Arkansas this morning. A little heavier out to the west, a little lighter now in eastern and southeastern Arkansas. Weather coming up. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Justin Dorsey, Benton Police, joining us with a check of traffic conditions. But first, here's a look at Highway 67, 167 near Cabot. Photojournalist Chris Ross giving us this look. And Justin, it's looking like it's a pretty good drive-in right there.
Yes.
For the time being.
Yeah, for right now. I mean, so far we are accident-free at the moment. So we had some earlier accidents; those are all cleared up. But we are seeing heavier traffic volume earlier this morning than normal.
A problem too that we've been talking about this morning is a lot of roads are flooded. All of the rain that we've been getting, there's sinkholes, there's flooding, there's school closures because the buses can't get there to go pick kids up. And by the way, if you look on the bottom of your screen, you'll see those scrolling there as well. So just a morning to be very careful.
Yeah, wear your seatbelt. Leave a little bit early, allow some extra distance because obviously you're not going to be able to stop near as quickly. So.
Any reports of accidents yet?
No accidents at the moment. We had some earlier, but like I say, they're cleared up. So.
Okay, here's a look at where police are running radar today.
There are safe speed locations. The Arkansas State Police will be I-40 just east of Burns Park, Little Rock, Mississippi Avenue, North Little Rock, Auburn, and MacArthur Drive. And in Benton today, we will be on Border Street. So slow down in these areas, but really everywhere with the weather.
Be careful.
So, yeah.
Is Benton still hiring? I saw the story a little bit earlier. Y'all need some officers.
Yeah, you want to apply.
There might be some people at home, though, that want to do that.
Absolutely,
so what do they need to know?
Just come by the police department or go online, check out our Facebook page. We've got some videos on there if you're curious about it.
Yeah.
And just get your application in by the end of the month. So.
Okay, about 10 positions hiring for.
Yeah, usually that's about what
good opportunity. You can work with this guy. Who wouldn't want to work with Justin Dorsey?
It's a good thing.
We appreciate you,
right,
Justin.
thank
We'll
you.
check back in just a bit. Tom, some things out to the garden.
Breaking weather news from the Weather Garden, the Crane Kia Weather Garden. It has stopped raining. Can you believe it? Just for a few minutes, I'm sure. Get a little bit of break here in the Weather Garden. Oh, there's a raindrop. Going to need the umbrella once again. Take this with you. Going to need the umbrellas. Going to need the slickers today. But the rain has backed off a little bit in downtown Little Rock. Once again, Chris Ross is in Cabot. And if you're headed toward Jacksonville, between Cabot and Jacksonville, there is a low spot that always seems to flood when the rain is fairly heavy. So be careful in that area. There's the shot once again. Cabot heading into Jacksonville. By the way, Chris, happy birthday. Now get to work. Go out in the rain and get wet, right? Chris Ross having a birthday today. Chris turns 29 today. Once again, thank you, Mr. Ross. That's near the Cabot exit. That's near the Highway 89 exit between, well, you're on the other side, on this side of Cabot, on the north side of Cabot. All right, 61 right now, Little Rock, 60. Rain and thunder back in by 7 and 8 o'clock. We could mix in some thunder and lightning here, but the good news is the rain has backed off considerably. This is what's happened since midnight. I was looking at Facebook. Love the social interaction. Send us what you have in your rain gauge. The official reporting stations in these locations reporting 3/10 or more in Searcy, in Batesville, Little Rock, a little more than 1/4 of an inch. They've picked up only 3/100 of an inch in Camden since midnight. I think that's a little suspect. But Wednesday's rain totals were quite large. Over 4 in Stuttgart, Pine Bluff, plus 3+ in Monticello, nearly 3 in Camden. Not much over the northern part of the state. That's certainly some bad news for those guys. They need it probably worse than central and southern Arkansas. And a few estimated storm totals. We have picked up close to 5 near Newport. Helena, West Helena area, over 8 inches of rain. There's probably an area here that's picked up 9 to 10 inches. And down around Camden, if we were to lose the little blue bar, we would see the accumulation of 6.5 inches. But I'll tell you, if you're wondering if you're going to school, and I know a lot of schools were looking at this flash flooding risk, our website, THV11.com, has school closings and delays. So here we go. We're on the eastern part of Little Rock, and you can see that we've got the rain has stopped. That's good stuff there. But more moving up the I-30 corridor. It is going to be a wet next couple of 3 hours as you make your plans to go to work. Just keep that in mind. Once again, broader perspective, more rain headed this way. Here's the extended outlook. It's going to continue off and on from now through Sunday before it finally comes to an end, and we'll return to some sunshine and milder air for Monday and Tuesday. Next chance of storms possibly Wednesday. Laura?
All right, thank you, Tom. New overnight, 2 suspects at large in connection with a Pittsburgh shooting that left 5 people dead and 3 hurt. Police say the gunman barged into a backyard party, opened fire in an ambush-style attack last night. They say gunshots came from 2 locations and they don't believe anyone fired back. 4 victims were found dead on the back porch. The other died at the hospital. Police haven't given a motive. Democratic presidential candidates Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders faced off in Florida last night, just ahead of Tuesday's primary there. And the first tense exchange of the night, well, it wasn't between the candidates, but between Clinton and the moderator of the night.
If you get indicted, will you drop out?
Oh, for goodness, that is not going to happen. I'm not even answering that question.
Ooh, Clinton and Sanders took turns blasting Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. Trump and his Republican opponents take the stage tonight. This is going to be their 12th debate. Latest polls show him leading Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and John Kasich in both Florida and Ohio. A state lawmaker who wants to sell War Memorial defending his proposal. Senator Bart Hester of Cave Springs says he took a look at Arkansas spending, trying to find things that are not the most appropriate use of taxpayer money. Well, he says the stadium only gets used a handful of times each year, so if the state sold it, it would save taxpayers nearly $900,000.
But I think University of Arkansas has been very clear. They're moving everything back up to Fayetteville. They can sell so many more tickets, and the revenue is always important.
Senator Hester says if the stadium is sold, then Pulaski County can collect property taxes for area schools. His full response to state spending is on THV11.com. Alyssa, very jealous of you right now. Ooh. Perfect recipe for rain.
Yes, guys, so excited about this. The weather outside, not so bright. It's a little dreary, which means that we could all use some comfort food to warm us up. We have Deanna Fleming, Catering Creations, grilled cheese, and tomato soup. Does it get any better than this?
Oh, I love rainy days, and this is the perfect thing to do. It's also a great thing just to do with kids. And so what I did was, we always do Texas toast. I love just a good thick slice of bread. And just for fun, I bought like olive oil and sea salt butter. Okay. And so I just butter each side of your toast just a little. All right. And just stick it on. I usually do it in a skillet on the stovetop, but when you're doing a lot, a griddle makes a lot of sense. And so then I bought several different types of cheese. So for fun, I did provolone, tomato basil, which is really a Monterey Jack with tomato basil, a pepper jack, and then just a regular sharp cheddar. And I think sharp cheddar is really good on a grilled cheese because it gives it a little more pop than a regular American cheese. And then really, I mean, with your kids and your family, you can just get around the stove and everybody just pick what they want and make their own little masterpiece, kind of like making your own pizza night. Yeah. But grilled cheese, honestly, it's a lot easier.
It is, less to clean up, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we're always looking for easy things. We run such a busy life anyway. So once you just load it up, so that's tomato basil, provolone. I'm just going to let that sit a minute, and then we'll put a top on it and go for it.
How long does it take usually once you get? I always find a way, Deanna, to mess up grilled cheese. I don't know what I'm doing. But how long do you let it sit with the butter on one side?
Well, you really just want it until it gets to this just really nice look, and it really depends on how. Some people just like it a little toasted, like this one, or this one's a little more.
Darker.
The butter gives it the brown spots, which I think makes it beautiful. If you're watching your weight, you can. I don't know. This is a hard meal if you're watching your weight, but if you aren't,
this is a splurge meal.
Yeah, pick your bread wisely. You don't have to use butter. You can use like a spray canola oil, something like that. And then tomato soup is great. And I made a homemade soup, and this is the first time I've ever done a homemade tomato soup. I'd used canned diced tomatoes, onion, minced garlic. I thickened it with a little bit of flour and 2 tablespoons of butter, and it made the most delicious, savory soup. Added a couple tablespoons of Italian seasoning. I don't think I'll ever buy soup ever again.
So it was that easy, huh?
It was really easy. Didn't take it long at all. Threw it in the crock pot just because I'm a crock pot kind of girl. But you know, you can really just do it in stovetop. So.
Okay, so this is a pretty easy recipe here, but you can find something at THV11.com, directions, and of course a recipe for the tomato soup. Deanna Fleming, Catering Creations, you have made our day.
Well, thank you. Well, y'all need to come eat.
Yeah, we do. We really do. Good lunch or dinner today. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.
The heavy storms turning deadly across much of the South. 2 people drowned in Oklahoma and in Texas. And in Louisiana, the governor there declared a state of emergency and called in the National Guard after more than a foot of rain. The town of Houghton, Louisiana, one of the hardest hit, with cars submerged and more than 100 homes with water up to the roof line. 8 neighborhoods in this area under a mandatory evacuation order as the rain is, of course, expected to continue. Across the state, at least 100 roads are closed, some entirely washed out. And one of the state's busiest highways now underwater for 37 miles.
Scary scene there. So's this. Back here at home, take a look at these pictures that we received of a few issues for drivers in El Dorado. This is what happened to State Line Road Junction. And here's a similar problem on Mount Road off of Highway 167. So thank you to Allison Butcher for sharing these pictures with us. Good to see, but you can post your weather photos on our THV11 Facebook page. We just ask that you take those pictures safely if you're going to send them in. Tom?
Yeah, you know, one of the things you could do is if you've got a rain gauge in your backyard, take a picture of how much rain you've received since midnight. I know a lot of you probably have dumped out the rain gauge over the last couple of days.
Right, building up.
Very, very impressive amounts of rain over the region. You know, we just had the video from Louisiana. And there are parts of northern Louisiana that have picked up over 10 inches of rain. I've got us right in the middle of that blue spot there, 9.9, but 10 to 15 inches. And even in Arkansas, we've seen some places picking up close to 9 inches of rain. These are your storm totals. These are estimated totals since Tuesday. So the axis of the heaviest precipitation has been occurring over eastern and even parts of central Arkansas. Now we have a batch of more moderate showers down around I-30 corridor there south of Arkadelphia, Clark County. That'll be moving to the northeast. We've had a little bit of a dry time. Lance Turner had a dry drive in this morning. It didn't rain on him. It's amazing. I don't think you're going to be as lucky going back to Arkansas business. So I think it's probably going to rain on you. Eastern and east central Arkansas, the rain has backed off. It's a little bit lighter, but there's still the opportunity for more moderate to heavy rain today. So we have a wave moving through by noon. Another wave this afternoon on its heels. Then behind that, we should begin to see a drier forecast for tonight and early tomorrow, and then more rain moving in. Bus stop forecast, umbrellas and boots are going to be needed along with your rain slickers, 65 by this afternoon. And with a little luck, we'll be on the tail end of more showers and thunderstorms. Now let's turn things to Mr. Turner this morning with a look at Arkansas business.
All right, Tom, thanks a lot. And now a look at your Arkansas business headlines. And the federal government moving a little too slow on new regulations for drone aircraft, and that's hurting a new Little Rock business. A 2012 law required the Federal Aviation Administration to issue rules on drones, something it still hasn't done. Meanwhile, the agency has been granting exemptions allowing businesses to operate drones commercially on a case-by-case basis. ARC UAV of Little Rock opened last summer and aims to provide training, services, and supplies for drone use in the agriculture and energy industries. The firm applied for an exemption in July, but still hasn't heard from the FAA. That's according to CEO Brad Fawcett. The delay has left his business losing money. In the meantime, ARC UAV is selling hobby drones and working with eSTEM public charter schools on developing curriculum for students for doing repairs of drones. Fawcett said he's confident, though, that eventually his business will be cleared to operate those drones commercially here in Arkansas. Also this week, there's a new financial leader on the University of Arkansas campus. The UA has named Timothy J. O'Donnell as its new Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration. O'Donnell's appointment was effective March 1st. He has been working in the position on an interim basis since July. He previously worked as Associate Vice Chancellor for Budget and Financial Planning. O'Donnell takes over for the longtime Finance Vice Chancellor Don Peterson, who retired. And finally, Otto Jeck, the Executive Vice President of George's Incorporated of Springdale, has died at the age of 86, the company announced on Tuesday. Jeck began his poultry career in his father's chicken coop building business and began working for George's back in 1951. He was named Executive Vice President in 1980. Jeck continued to oversee and assist with operations and expansion of the company up until his death. Carl George, the co-CEO of George's, said Jeck was, quote, a man of integrity. And there is a look at your Arkansas business headlines. Now let's send things back over to you guys.
You smell that, Lance? I do. Is there any left, ladies?
Listen, I'm taking offense to that because I feel like we're the only ones that have had it. So he's saying that we would have eaten it all.
Right, right.
Though there is some left, but I will get some soon. I'm just saying.
It smells awfully good.
There's
oh, look, she's
so
making me some right now.
I think that's for that is for THV 11's most interesting man in the world, Al Mitchum. He just walked in front of the camera.
Big Sal.
Speaking of interesting men, it's the end of an era for a commercial icon. Take a look.
Cuba imports cigars from him. Mosquitoes refuse to bite him, purely out of respect. He is the most interesting man in the world.
Yes, he is. After 9 years, the most interesting man in the world being retired by Dos Equis. Actor Jonathan Goldsmith will sign off with a one-way trip to Mars.
Yeah, Dos Equis wants to revamp the commercials to keep their edge for a new generation of customers. I have my pick, guys. He may not be younger, but I think his voice would do well.
Who?
Is that?
Morgan Freeman.
How
about that?
he's an
now,
interesting
that is
guy.
actually, I don't know if he's younger, though. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but he's still.
So.
But Morgan Freeman is interesting.
He is. I always thought this guy, though, I always thought he was so handsome and just the perfect guy that they could pick for something like this.
Who's gonna? I would not want to step into those shoes out there.
About?
Oh my! Oh, just a commercial. I love those commercials.
They're
I mean,
funny.
even when they're on, I mean, I could be thumbing through it. Oh, there's the interesting guy.
Sense of humor. I like it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.